What happens when greed consumes even the strongest? This is the tale of a hyena whose hunger for more led him into a trap he could never escape. A story of wisdom, betrayal, and the lesson that sharing is the true path to survival. Stay with me, because the ending will shock you. Long ago, in a sun-baked African savannah, animals lived together in delicate balance. The lions ruled with strength, the elephants with wisdom, and the antelopes with speed. Among them lived Hyena, who was known far and wide for his endless greed. He had a laugh that echoed across the plains, but behind that laugh was a selfish heart. Hyena always wanted more food, more land, more praise, and he didn't care whose toes he stepped on to get it. His tricks had made many animals wary of him. One day, as the dry season approached and food grew scarce, Hyena's greed swelled greater than ever. While others thought of sharing and conserving, Hyena thought only of himself. It was during this time that Owl, an old bird with feathers speckled like the stars, came to live in the tall baobab tree in the middle of the plains. Owl was quiet, observant, and respected, for he had seen many moons rise and fall. The animals often went to him for advice, but Hyena dismissed him, saying, "What can an old bird do for me? He eats little and knows nothing of meat." Yet fate was about to prove Hyena wrong in ways he could not imagine. One hot afternoon, the animals gathered at the riverbank to discuss how they would survive the harsh season ahead. The grass was yellow, the river was shrinking, and the fruits were drying. "We must ration what little we have," Elephant declared. "And we must take turns at the water hole," added Antelope. But Hyena only licked his lips and snickered. "Why ration? Why wait? I am strong. I will take what I need." His words stirred unease among the animals, but no one dared challenge him openly. Later that night, Owl summoned Hyena beneath his baobab tree. "Greed blinds even the sharpest hunter," Owl warned. "If you keep taking more than your share, it will be your downfall." Hyena laughed so loudly the stars seemed to shake. "Old bird, your words are dry like your feathers. I make my own fortune." Then he strutted away, his belly already full from stealing a goat from the village nearby. Owl watched him with calm, knowing eyes. Wisdom, after all, was patient, and greed always carried its own punishment. As days passed, Hyena's greed worsened. When the animals agreed to dig holes for water storage, Hyena pretended to work, but sneaked away to steal food from the monkey's hidden stores. When Lion brought down a buffalo and offered to share, Hyena snatched the largest chunk and disappeared before anyone could stop him. The animals grew tired, and whispers spread. "Hyena will destroy us all." Owl heard their fears and said, "Do not worry. The greedy always dig their own grave." Meanwhile, Hyena found himself growing fat while others grew thin. He mocked them, saying, "Look at me, strong and full. While you starve, I feast." But even his laughter began to sound hollow. Deep inside, his belly hurt from overeating, though he ignored the warning signs. Pride and greed mixed together are a dangerous poison. One evening, Owl flew quietly to Hyena's den. "I have seen a great feast beyond the hills," Owl whispered. Hyena's eyes widened, his stomach rumbling. "A feast?" he asked eagerly. Owl nodded slowly. "Yes, but only the patient and wise can enjoy it. If you rush, it will vanish like smoke. If you wait, it will be yours in plenty." Hyena laughed mockingly. "Patience? Wisdom? Nonsense. Just tell me where, and I will take it all." Owl sighed. "Your hunger will lead you astray. But if you must, climb the hill tomorrow at dawn." Greed blinded Hyena, and he barely slept that night. Dreams of roasted meat and sweet fruits filled his mind. He awoke early, his jaws dripping with saliva. He ran faster than ever, not knowing that destiny had laid a trap for his gluttony. At the hilltop, Hyena found a giant clay pot glowing under the morning sun. From within came the irresistible aroma of roasted meat, honey, and ripe fruits. Hyena's nose twitched, his eyes shone, and his tongue drooled. He lunged into the pot without hesitation, shoving mouthfuls of food into his jaws. The more he ate, the heavier the pot seemed to grow. Soon, Hyena's belly swelled so much he could not climb out. He struggled, he groaned, he yelped, but the more he moved, the tighter the pot seemed to hold him. "Help!" he cried, but only his echo answered. From the branches above, Owl watched silently. "Greed is a trap of its own making," Owl murmured. Hyena, stuck and bloated, laughed no more. Hours turned into days. Hyena remained trapped in the pot, surrounded by the very food he craved. At first, he gorged himself, thinking he would soon escape. But the food never seemed to end, and his body grew heavier, his spirit weaker. Villagers passing by the hill heard faint groans and whispers of the greedy hyena trapped in a magical pot. They laughed, shaking their heads. "The one who stole our goats has met his punishment," they said. Meanwhile, the animals in the savannah noticed Hyena's absence. For the first time in many moons, food was shared peacefully. The waterhole rotations worked, and harmony slowly returned. Owl, ever watchful, spread the word of Hyena's fate. See what greed brings? Even the strongest can be trapped by their own hunger. Inside the pot, Hyena's laughter had turned to sorrow. He thought of the times he stole from lion, mocked elephant, and tricked monkey. He remembered Owl's warning and realized too late that wisdom was greater than greed. His cries echoed in the clay walls, unheard by anyone who cared. The pot, enchanted by forces older than the animals, refused to release him until he learned his lesson. Days stretched into weeks, and Hyena grew thin despite being surrounded by food. His greed had cursed him. The food no longer nourished him. Only regret filled his belly now. He whispered to the wind, "If only I had listened. If only I had shared." The wind carried his words across the plains, a sad reminder to all who heard. One cool night, Owl perched at the baobab, speaking to the gathered animals. "Remember Hyena," he said softly, his eyes glowing in the moonlight. "Greed blinds the heart and traps the soul. To live in harmony, we must take only what we need and leave enough for others." The animals nodded solemnly, each remembering how Hyena's selfishness once threatened them. From that day on, sharing became their law. When food was scarce, they rationed with fairness. When water ran low, they waited patiently in turn. And whenever a young one grew too greedy, the elders would say, "Do you want to end like Hyena?" The laughter that followed was no longer mocking, but wise, a reminder carved into their hearts. Hyena's story spread beyond the savannah. Villagers told it around their fires, warning children never to let greed control them. Travelers carried it to faraway lands, and even the winds whispered it to mountains and rivers. Though no one saw Hyena again, the tale of his folly lived on. Some say the clay pot still sits on the hill, a silent monument to greed. Others say Hyena still laughs inside, though now it is a hollow, sorrowful laugh. Owl, however, knew the truth. Hyena had been given a chance to learn, and though his body perished, his spirit became a wandering warning, teaching others to choose wisdom over selfish desire. Thus, the savannah thrived in peace, guided by Owl's wisdom and the memory of Hyena's downfall. Children of animals and humans alike grew up knowing that greed is a trap, and no one, no matter how clever or strong, escapes its jaws. The moral of the tale is simple, yet eternal. Greed brings destruction, while wisdom and sharing bring harmony. The animals lived longer, happier lives when they thought not only of themselves, but of the whole community. And so the story ends, carried in the wind, retold in whispers, reminding every ear that hears it. Do not be like the greedy hyena. Be like the wise old owl, and your days will be full of peace. Moral lesson: greed destroys, but wisdom and sharing preserve life.